Hello everybody, welcome to Object Oriented Programming with Java Laboratory. So in this video, I'm going to explain about the program number 10, that is exception handling. So first we will see what do you mean by exception handling. Then we will go for the program code. So here, what do you mean by exception? So exception is nothing but it's a runtime error, correct? So a abnormal, unwanted, unexpected situation occur during the running time of the program. So that is called a exception. So when the exception occur, if we don't handle properly, our program will crash. That means it will stop working. It will not flow further. So mechanism called exception handling, which is used to handle the exception. The exception handling in Java is one of the powerful mechanism to handle the runtime errors so that the normal flow of the application can be maintained. So our program will not stop. It will flow further if we handle the exception properly. Okay. So exception is an event that disrupts the normal flow of program. It is an object which is thrown at runtime. So exception will be thrown at a runtime. So here there is a java.lang.throwable class is a root class of the Java exception. Okay, so this is the class throwable class is the root class of the Java exception, which is inherited by two subclasses, that is exception and error. Okay, so here types of exception. Usually there are two types of exception, that is checked exception and unchecked exception. What is checked exception? Checked exception are checked at compile time. Okay, such as IO exception, SQL exception, etc. Unchecked exceptions are not checked at the compile time, but they are checked at the runtime, such as the arithmetic exception, array index, out of bound exception, null pointer exception. Okay, these are the unchecked exception. They'll be checked at a runtime. So Java provides many keyword to handle this exception. So that is it provide a try keyword, okay, to handle the exception, and the catch is there. Finally, throws are there. Okay, so what that's this try will why do we need this try? Place an exception code. So you have to place the exception code in a try block. That is the code which may generate the exception, or you have doubt that this code will generate the exception. That code you can place it in the try block. Okay, then what action you have to perform when the exception occur? Handle the exception. That code you can put it in the catch block, and finally execute the necessary code. And finally is a block which will execute whether you handle the exception or not handle the exception. And throws an exception, you can throw the user defined exception by using this throws, and you can declare the exception by using this throws keyword. So we will see this in our program. So this program is question number 10 here. Okay, so in this program, they ask write a Java program to read two integer a and b. You have to read two integer a and b, and you have to compute the division of it. That is a divides b, and print it. You have to print it. When you have to print when the b value is not equal to 0. When b is not 0, you have to print it. When b is 0, you have to raise an exception. Okay, and you have to catch it, and you have to show in your program how you are handling that exception. So this is very simple program. So let me explain the code. So yeah, here is the code for this. I imported one scanner class because in the question they ask to read two numbers. If you want to take the number from the user, I have to make use of the scanner class. So this is the class I have created for the program, and this is the main method. So here I'm declaring two integer number a and b, and one variable called result to store the result of my division. Okay, so then I'm creating the object for the scanner class. I'm reading a two integer. So I have created an input object for the scanner class. Input dot next int is a method which is used to get the integer. So first integer I'm reading, I'm placing in a. Second integer I'm reading, I'm placing in a b. So like that I have read two integers. Now when you will get the exception, when you try to divide anything by 0, at that time you will get the exception. So this is the code which may generate the exception. So that code where I'm putting in a try block. So if there is no exception, this catch block will be ignored. This will not be executed, catch block. Okay, if there is an exception, this try will throw the exception, and this catch will catch the exception, and code this particular block statement will be executed if there is an exception. Okay, so now this is the arithmetic operation we are performing, and this will throw the arithmetic exception. I'll just write that arithmetic exception here. I'm creating one variable for it called e, so I'll print what exception is that. Now let me see the output. No error. Just type here Java exception 1. So here asking me enter the values. I'll give 2. I'll give the value, say 2, a value 2, b value 2 I have given, and the result I am getting a 1. Value 0, we will see what output we will get. I'll give the a value 2, b value I'll give 0. Now it's throwing an exception. This exception we have caught here. Okay, by using this catch method, we have caught the exception and we are getting it. Okay, assume that there is some code after this try and catch. Whenever the exception occur, if you don't handle it properly, your program will stop it. Okay, I'll run this program and show you. Now see here, there is no any exception. So this code executed and this catch block got skipped, and I'm getting the program ended successfully. Now I will give some exception code here. That is b value I have given 0 and it throwing exception, and we have catching it. I mean, we handle it properly. So I'm getting this program ended success, means I have handled my exception. So program is not getting stuck. It is flowing further. Now, what if I fail to handle it properly? We will see that. For example, here I'll write something else. Instead of arithmetic, I'll write a null pointer exception. Okay. Now we will see the output. So here, this code is generating the arithmetic exception. I'm catching it, but I'm comparing with null pointer exception. So again, this catch block also will generate an exception. Okay. So at that time, our program will stop. It will not flow further if you don't handle the exception properly. So I'll compile my code, run it. Now see here, I'll give the b value 0. Now see, this throws an arithmetic exception with, but we fail to handle it. Okay, our catch block failed to handle it, so it is not flowing further. I am not getting this output at all. So my program stops here only. So this is what happened if we don't handle the exception properly. Okay. Now there is a keyword called finally. That finally will execute your code whether you're getting the exception or not, whether you're handling the exception or not. So the same code, what I'll do is now I'll place in the finally block. Now I'll execute this program. You can see the difference. I'll compile it. Execute this. 2 divided by 0. Now see here. So here there is exception occurred. This exception throws to catch, and catch is comparing with some other exception. So again, the catch is also throwing the exception, but we are getting this output. Now see here, program ended. So earlier we didn't get the output because there was not finally block. So this means finally block code will get executed if we handle the exception or not. So this is the use of a finally block. Usually we will use this finally blocker to close the database connection, and when you open the file and you have to close that file at the time of that code, the closing code, we will put it in this finally block. I hope you understood this. Thank you so much.